Woke up from a nap.
Per usual. All right, we can get started if you guys have questions for Shaine.
Hey Shane, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Hey, curious just kind of what the last year and a half has been like for you in regards to looking forward to Olympic trials with it getting moved back. What's that kind of been like for you to try to get prepared and just all around thinking about your future with the Olympics?
Uh, yeah. I mean, this year and a half, I guess, post canceled. Whenever they canceled, it kind of was like, kind of like hit the refresh button a little bit. Um, after it was canceled, it kind of died down the hype with stuff like that. But for me, it was more prep work and getting to practice things like competing and racing people with like SECs and NCAA's. But it's honestly about the same thing as it was leading up to the meet before it got canceled, because you just have like the big buildup with the anticipation, a lot of excitement and stuff like that with the meet coming up and 7 days out. It's just counting down the days to the meet. I don't know. It's not really
Yeah,
much.
when last year when you the news or I mean really when there was a lot of uncertainty about what was going to happen with the Olympics and then kind of the news came down, was it frustration, was it disappointment, was it relief that you had some more time to train? Kind of what was the emotions like knowing that it was going to be another year before you could get to this point?
I think initially, whenever it first happened, it was frustration and kind of just like disappointment, because I felt confident and I was swimming very well. So I thought that I had a great shot regardless that time. But in hindsight, after looking at it, I realized that, it gave me more time and kind of just like it gave me an opportunity to just really work and take out the guesswork in it. And now I can be confident and sure, at least in myself, that I can make the team. And I have basically taken every opportunity to do it. So I'm, I guess, like satisfied that I get this other chance a year later, even though obviously I would love to have been an Olympian a year ago or whatever. But I mean, if I can do it next week, then, it was still worth the wait.
Yeah, is there something you kind of mentioned it there a little bit, but is there something in the last year that you've learned, developed, added to your game that you might not have taken to the trials last year?
I have a lot more high competition experience. I'd like to say, because, going into it last year, my biggest meet, I guess, was nationals, and that was more of a light year. There wasn't too many superstars there, so it was kind of just me doing my thing, and I was able to win and swim really well there. But that kind of doesn't mean a lot whenever not everybody's there. So at least having the NCAA championship and winning at the biggest stage in the US collegiately, I think that gave me all the confidence and practice racing at a high level that I needed for this meet, because I kind of know what to do now and what it's going to feel like. And I also got to kind of have like a mini test run of like, just swimming a lot of races, recovering and trying these new techniques and new things that could help me get to my best shape.
Shane, I
Makes
know the
sense.
last time we talked to you, you talked about staying in town to train. What was different with your training going up to trials as opposed to, getting ready for SEC championships and then your normal, day-to-day training?
The difference when
What was different about training for Olympic trials as opposed to your everyday?
oh, okay. I mean, like technically speaking, Olympic trials is 50 meters, so like the entire pool. So there's not like a wall in the middle. So that's like the biggest difference. Um, Switching from short course yards, which is 25 yards, to long course meters, which is 50 meters. I guess that's like technically the biggest thing, but I mean, everything's the same, besides practice being in long course format, just work hard, focus on details. Um, I definitely felt like I needed to get a little more in shape, because long course is a little more demanding, like aerobically, compared to short course where it's a lot very fast. You're holding your breath a lot. So that there was a little adjustment for me with that, but I think that now that I'm acclimated, I'm kind of in the best shape I need to be in for this meet coming up.
Awesome. And then, heading to trials, what is it like? What's it going to be like for you swimming against some of these bigger names? And who are some people that you're excited to get in the pool with that maybe you haven't before?
I mean, I'm excited from top to bottom, even on the women's side. You know, I don't really keep up with like their sport because I'm kind of focused on what's like who's with me and what I'm doing. But I'm just excited to just go to this meet. You know, obviously race Ryan Murphy, he's the guy to beat. Um, Caleb Dressel, all these really good superstars for Team USA. I'm excited to race and swim against. But at the same time, like this is also my first Olympic trial, so I kind of get the like cool, neat experience of it being my first time. I get to see, you know, this giant arena and lots of fast swimming. So I'm just excited for swimming and to watch.
Thank you, sir.
What can you put into words what this pressure situation is like? I mean, obviously you've come through clutch lately, so I imagine, like you said, that helps with your confidence. But how much pressure do you feel in this type of, you know, event, so to speak?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of pressure. I've been working for this for years, so you know, you have like the whole build up, you know, like it's your goal, the dream to make Team USA. So I mean, there definitely is a lot of pressure, and I'd say if it hadn't been for this past NCAA's, you know, the pressure to win and then for me to go and win 3 times, I think I might be hurting a little bit, at least mentally, because it definitely was an adjustment for me to go into a meet like that and everybody expect me to win, expect me to perform. And I'm glad that I did because, you know, it was super tough. NCAA's was probably my toughest meet that I've ever been to. But having that now, you know, like with that pressure, like I'm not saying I'm used to it, but like now I know like what I'm going through and it's fine. You know, I just kind of just take it day by day. I honestly like I'm kind of like tapped out about just like thinking about it every single day. I'm just like at the point where I'm just waiting till I leave. And then whenever I get there, I'll get excited again. I'm just like, there's not really much I can do except just wait.
What gives you confidence that you'll shine the brightest with the lights as bright as they're going to be?
I mean, that's just what I do. That's what I train to do. That's what I plan to do. I visualize doing that. So
Last one for me. What's it? I mean, obviously you've made a name for yourself already with doing so good at the, you know, NCAA championships, but bigger name for yourself. I'd imagine on this stage. Is this something that's you're kind of like in shock? Like, man, I'm actually making a huge name for myself out here doing what I love.
it's exciting. I've been talking about this for years. Like whenever I won nationals and I was entered kind of like the room for discussion for like possible Olympians or medalists or anything. You know, I've been preparing for that and planning for that and hoping that, you know, and that motivated me every single day in practice. Like I want to make it, I want to do well, I want to represent the US. So I'm excited to hopefully enter the new stage in my life where people know who I am and, you know, my name becomes an international name and I'm not just a kid swimming at Texas A&M, you know, maybe I'm, you know, the guy that swam for Team USA and did well. So I'm very excited for my opportunity pretty soon.
Well, we appreciate your time today, bud.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
got one more. When you was the plan always to hang these things behind you, or was that like a Zoom background thing?
Those were a couple records from my freshman year, but I don't really hang them up anymore. I just don't want to remove it because I know it'll ruin the paint in my room. So
I mean,
I set them up
it's a
there.
pretty outstanding Zoom background. Just be like, hey, look at this. I'm pretty awesome. You know.
Yeah, it always comes up every single Zoom meeting. It's pretty fun.
That's awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Shaine.
No,
Thank you, Shaine. I think you're good.
huh?
I think you're good to go. I appreciate it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll see you.
Okay. Hey, Chloe. just curious what the last year or so has been like for you, as things got, well, initially you didn't know what the Olympics were going to be, and then they get pushed back, and how did that kind of affect you, or what were your emotions about that initially, and how have you utilized, or what has the year been like leading up to a pushed back Olympics?
So definitely when things started going south, coming from New York, it got really bad really quick. So I wasn't able to train for probably 2 months at all, like absolutely nothing. It was a bit of a shock, and I really didn't know what was going to happen personally with my training, only because of the situation I was in back home of like the governor really having things locked down and not really opening anything up for a while. Um, I kind of saw the Olympics and the trials being canceled pretty early on when Canada said they were pulling out, was what really hinted me like back in the day of like, oh shoot, this is not going to happen at all this year. And then once things started getting a little better, I actually was able to get back in the pool fairly quickly and back into shape way faster than I thought. And I got like really good training in with my club team before going to A&M, and being able to come to A&M, there was a lot of unknowns of like, is there going to be a college season? Am I going to be able to, you know, do all of these things? Or am I going to have to wind up going back home to train my club team later on? So luckily, I think for me, a lot of things worked out in my favor. And I had a really good college year. I dropped a ton of time. I got really good training in. So I almost think that the COVID year for me played in my benefit. And because I've grown so much as a swimmer, I've gotten really good training in, and goals that I had back in August that were more of like a reach or like further out are way more of a reality now going into trials.
Yeah, so it definitely seems like you've embraced the extra year, and maybe go into these trials with like a little bit more complete overall talent pool or skill set, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I think just having the confidence from this past year, like during the college season, dropping a lot of time, doing really well at like NCs and SECs, and just coming off of a really good year and everything with that, keeping the ball rolling. There's no reason why I can't keep the ball rolling in my mind and going into trials. And I'm very excited because, I mean, I've had a little bit of long course racing, but just being able to finally go to the meet, have it happen, it's very exciting.
How did you, when you said you were at home and you couldn't get in the pool? I mean, you probably had to do something to kind of at least stay in shape a little bit. What was that kind of training like?
So I wound up like just biking to the beach by my house pretty much every day. And the only thing that I was able to do like that somewhat normal was I actually was able to keep lifting. The gym that I go to back home is specifically for like sports performance athletes, and they were given like an exemption to stay open. So while it was like very limited and like I couldn't go maybe as often as I wanted to, I was still able to at least keep lifting, which I think really helped. And then once it got warmer, I actually bought like a bungee cord and tied it to like the fence in my backyard. And I was swimming in place in my pool, my backyard, for like about a week and a half before I was able to get back in like the practice pool. So that was something that I had to kind of think outside the box on. But I mean, it helped just like, I think going back into the training with my club team, just taking that initial first week of like, oh wow, I feel like I'm not moving any water. It was just kind of a, you know, thing I had to do, but it got me another week.
How does that work? Did you like attach it to your foot, or like how did that work?
It was actually attached around my waist. I had like a
Okay.
belt, and then the other end was like attached to like the fence in my backyard, and I was just swimming in place in my pool.
How much trial and error did that take to try to come up with a good apparatus there?
Not too much actually, because I've seen it a lot on like other like people started doing it. So for me, it was more of like I kind of knew I wanted to do it, and it was just a matter of like getting the stuff, having it shipped, because like shipping took forever, and it being warm enough.
Hmm. Awesome, thanks.
No problem.
Hey, Chloe, I was just wondering, is there any added pressure to yourself, or do you feel any more pressure having to get into the pool at these trials with some really big names? Do you feel any of that going into this?
Not really, because I've been competing against them for a long time now, and I think that my confidence like really just grew the past year. I mean, I've been racing people like Kate Ledecky since my junior year of high school, and like even before that a little bit. So while like, yes, like there's big names, I've been competing with them for so long that it's kind of more, I guess, I'm just like more normal now than it was before. And the bottom line is that like, yes, it's a big swim meet. There's a lot of big names there, but it's still a pool. It's still a swim meet. Granted, it's in an arena and there's way more fans and like big lights and stuff like that, but it's still a swim meet. And with the pressure aspect of it, that's what I try to remember to help control that.
Well, okay. So if your confidence is higher, what would it mean to you? You know, if all this goes well, what would it mean to you to represent the red, white, and blue in Tokyo?
I mean, that's like, I think every athlete's dream. They talked about a while ago, I was at a camp and they mentioned how like when teams walk on the pool deck at the Olympics, it's, you know, oh, cool. Like there's, you know, whatever, there's Canada, there's this, there's that. But when the United States walks in, it's a very different, like, oh, there's the United States. And like, we are such a well-known team and tons of talent. And I mean, I think that's just other people, sometimes you hear like, there was one athlete, I believe she's a swimmer, who said like, oh, I could have represented this country, but I wanted to represent the United States because it's such a high level and it's such an honor. I mean, that you can't get any better than representing your own country, especially the United States.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Justin, you need anything?
No, Dalton stole my questions from Shaine. So,
I'm sorry.
I think we're good.
but thank you, Chloe. We
No
appreciate you.
problem.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.